Welcome to Nola's Garden. Today I will teach you how to make this bouquet using 4 different types of florals. Welcome to Nola's Garden. One of the first things you want to do before you start actually making your bouquet is making sure you have a couple things handy and ready to go. For example, you want to have some clippers that you like. I like these Fisker ones because they're easy, they're cheap, they're reliable, they're easy to clean, and they also have these like little holes on the side. I don't know if you guys can see them. They have these little holes so you can strip leaves. So these are leaf strippers. I'll show you how to use these later. I also have these tiny clippers, which I got from a company called Eagle. They're to clip off like delicate, smaller leaves or branches. They're very thin, very sharp, so be careful. I like to have a towel, paper towel, just so I can wipe up any messes that I make. And then you'll probably see me sweeping down leaves on the floor, so I just want to show you. I have an empty bucket for waste that I'm going to throw all the branches and leaves into and just throw them into my compost. If you don't have a basket or bucket, that's okay. Just anything that you can collect the leaves to kind of keep your mess minimized. It makes a huge difference later, so you're not stepping and stuff and trekking things around the house, especially if you have pets or something. And then also I like to keep a vase with just empty water so I can cut them. After I get done taking all the leaves off, I will put them in the vase, just let them sit there until I'm ready to actually assemble my flowers. And then obviously you need to have your flowers. So this is going to be a quick video on how to make a very simple bouquet using just 4 different kinds of flowers. And the place you want to start, obviously, once you've picked what kind of colors you want, what kind of textures you want in your flowers, is your vase. I found this cute little vase in downtown LA, and it looks like a luxury designer bag. It's made out of ceramic, and it can actually hold water. I tested that to make sure it wasn't going to leak all over my desk. So this is the size of the flowers I want to keep in mind when I'm trimming them, so they won't look too big or topple over. So I'm going to fast forward through some of this later after I show you guys how to strip some of the leaves off, because nobody wants to watch that long term. So let's get started. So first things first, when you have things like this, I don't know what these berries are called. I think these are coffee bean if I had to guess. I will leave a name of all the flowers that I'm using at the end of the video so you guys have them for reference. So basically you just start with, again, measure how long you want them to be, right? What kind of style you want, like, you know, how do you want them sticking out? Do you want them about the same size? So I like to make mine a little bit longer than needed because you can always trim them later. So an easy place to start is if you just take all of your bunch, kind of measure it accordingly. And as you can see, actually, let me flip this around. If you have your bunch right here and you measure accordingly, you see that if they're short, you want to cut the flowers about right here. But I might want them a little longer, so I'm going to cut them about right here. Just a little extra room to play around with. So let me put this vase down. And I'm going to start with just cutting all of these in the same place. And again, you want to cut them at an angle. Each stem you want to cut at an angle. It's better for water, and I guess it also just helps the flowers create a little bit more callus so they don't get mushy and die quickly. So cut them at an angle. As you can see, it's like a sharp, almost 45-degree angle if you can. And then just put them in water. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of cut all of these in the same way. Just like that. And I'm going to throw my waste away, like I mentioned. And so now what you can do is take the leaves off. So you don't want too many leaves going in the water. That's how your water gets mushy and gross, and it will actually make the rest of your stems get really mushy. So just pick off the bottom 2 leaves. I like to leave a little bit more leaf on because I like my flowers to be a little bit fuller. If you don't like them, that's fine. You can always pick them off. But that's what we're basically going to do. Go down and strip the bottom 2 layers of leaves off. You can leave one or 2 leaves, not too much, because you also don't want the plant to send more water into the leaves rather than keeping the flowers alive. So, and let's fast forward to this later. Now that one's done, we're gonna start with the roses. So there's a couple extra steps to the roses besides just de-leafing them. You wanna make sure, first things first, that you don't have thorns on your stems. These spay roses are thorn free. Otherwise, the first step would be to pick all the thorns off. So in this one, we're just gonna pick the leaves off, just like that. And then you wanna also take a look at all the flowers individually. Are there bruised leaves that you wanna pick off, like this one? It could be better, it might get worse over time, so you just wanna pick them off and leave the better looking petals on the outside. See, and just, pluck them off gently. So we took off all the old leaves or any sort of damaged leaves or anything that's turning brown. Sometimes they turn brown from disease, so you want to make sure that there's no like weird growth or any powdery mildew on your leaves or on your petals. This one, it just looked like maybe they were crushed on the side, so that's okay. Let me show you, for example, like this. You want to remove any leaves that look like this. So just get in there and make sure you pull from get the petal out and pull from the bottom so you get rid of the whole petal and not just a piece of it. Right. And if you're not that picky, that's okay. You also don't have to do this. I like to do these because I'm very picky about these things, but if it doesn't bother you, it doesn't make a difference. Some people like a little bit more of a natural look. It's fine. And then again, pick the leaves off. You could wear gloves while doing this in case there are thorns, but to each their own. Also, when you have flowers that look like this, you see this little stub in the middle, like that's not very aesthetically appealing. So I would go in here and just cut that off. So now it's not there anymore. Just like that. And I will keep doing this and just kind of fast forward through this so you guys can follow along quickly. And also just sometimes your flowers will break, which is okay. You can just clip them off where they break without damaging the main stem. This would be the main stem, without damaging the main stem, and just keep them off to the side. We can make some miniature bouquets later. They're actually really cute to leave maybe in the bathroom or in your office where you don't actually have enough room to actually put a full bouquet or anything like that. Or if you're making these for someone, you have a little tiny one for you now. Don't throw them away, just hang on to them. This is always questionable. Some people like these, some people don't. I think including buds and not fully blossomed flowers is kind of a cool aesthetic. So I like to personally keep them. Again, if you don't want to, you don't have to use this stem. I will. Again, now that we've cleaned all of our roses, they look pretty good. There's no dead flowers, no dead leaves. The stems are nice and clean. I'm gonna hold them evenly, like maybe flush them from the top. Again, measure them against the pot that you're gonna use to put them in, and then just cut them a little beyond that. So I would cut them down here. And try to cut them at an angle as best as you can. And again, just put them in the vase right next to you, just so they will keep taking in water while you get the rest of your flowers prepped. Like I said, it's important to keep your workstation clean. And, you know, I'm just using my office desk. I don't have like a special table or anything. And then, so this is something you have to be careful of. So when you have like some unique looking flowers, they bundle them separately in different ways. So I don't know if you guys can see this. There's a tiny little rubber band right here. It's holding the end of this bunch. If I try to pull it out, it will probably snap off all the end pieces of it. So I'm just going to cut it with my clippers, and it releases them nice and easily, so I don't break any more flowers. And same thing for this. We're just gonna go through and take all the extra leaves off. These kind of look like lemongrass, which is funny. I don't know if this is lemongrass, I doubt it. And I usually like to take the leaves off from the bottom going up towards the flowers in that order. I feel like it just helps me realize how much room I actually have to when I cut the stem, and if there's anything mushy going on, or if there are any bugs or any sort of diseases, and I'll know exactly where to cut them. All right, and same thing, we're gonna lay this on its side so you just see that. So I have roughly made them even here, and again, we're going to measure them to the depth of the little vase here, and cut just a little beyond that. Oh, it just fell off my desk. That's okay. We'll get those later. Just like that, we're gonna add these to the water. Sometimes your vase is not big enough, so you might want two. And again, it doesn't have to be a vase. It's whatever container you have available. If it's a bucket, or I don't know if you guys collect leftover yogurt containers or things like that, you know, just whatever container you have that you can put the flowers in for a little while so they can actually get some water in them. I don't know if you can see this, but it looks kind of cute just as it is already. A little wild, but not bad. All right, and again, make sure you clean up. All right. These ones are usually a little bit, I don't know what this is called. Again, I will find the names and post them at the end of the video. I love these. They're a really cute filler flower. They last forever if you accidentally forget to refill water, which I have on several occasions. They last and they will stay alive. And they actually also dry really beautifully. So if you ever want to do like a dry flower arrangement, like this is definitely the place you want to go. So trimming these is a little bit different than the other flowers because there are so many branches on this, right? So I personally like to cut them at like a junction right here so I can get individual stems for some pieces. So for example, in this case, you can see there's one stem here, there's one stem here. I'm just gonna cut it right here. So now I have two stems with the flowers. And they're roughly about the size that we need too for the vase. These actually, you wanna keep these about the same length as the other ones because they are filler flower. They're gonna take up a lot more space and hold your bouquet in its actual shape. So if you don't want to cut these down too much right now, you don't have to. Also, you can definitely cut them down later, as with the other flowers. This is just to kind of get control of when you have really big flower stems and you're planning on making a small bouquet. So that. And I'm just going to take one of these big ones here so I can show you how I would probably trim something like this. So this has several branches. This has 1, 2, and this one has flowers on it, 3, 4, 5. So there's a bunch. So I would probably separate these down here at the base, just like that. So you can cut those, cut those. And now these are going to be single stems instead of one big stem. And I would cut these again right here. So they're about this long now, and they have flowers on the end. Just kind of put them off to the side as you're done. And there's some that you're going to get pieces that don't have flowers on them like this. That's okay. These make really cute fillers as well, so it's not a problem. helps to have a big surface area when you're doing this. So maybe like even your kitchen counter or a dining table or patio furniture, wherever you're comfortable, because it can get a little bit messy. And if you have pets, I highly recommend maybe not letting them in the room while you're making flower bouquets, because some flowers are toxic to cats and dogs. I'm sure at some point I'll do a bouquet that I can show you is non-toxic to cats or dogs. I have several cats, as you now know from the name of our channel. Nola was my baby kitty who recently passed away from cancer, and so I'm making this channel in her honor. She used to love watching me do this. I mean, she was mainly trying to eat all the flowers and anything I dropped on the floor, but still. Okay. Okay, so let's actually get started on assembling this. So first things first, you want to make sure you have a little bit of water in here, which I don't. Hold please. So first things first, you want to make sure you actually have a little bit of water in here. I generally put about 2 inches of water or so, just so there's something for the plants to drink while they're in here. And while you're arranging this, you can always add water to refill it afterwards as well, but just, you know, to start with, just a little bit of water, nothing too much so it doesn't overflow. And then we're going to start with the flower or stems that provide structure. So in this case, we're going to use these. These are filler flowers. So we're going to use this somewhere so that I can place other flowers in it, and they will actually hold the shape the way I want it to. So the way I wanted to do something like this was make it a little bit messy, a little bit over the top, just a very cute little like big bouquet, you know, and especially since this is only going to have 2 sides, it's not a symmetrical pot. So you're going to have to either face it this way when you're giving it to someone, or if you're putting it in your house or displaying it, or you're going to have to face it this way. It doesn't really make sense to see it this way. So we're going to arrange this assuming that this or this is going to be the front side of it. So just grab a couple stems and maybe put them on opposite ends. I like to interlock them like this when I put them inside, so that will actually help it keep its cute little shape like that, if you can see. And just kind of add a couple, maybe 3 or 4 branches, you know. If you did 2 crisscrossing this way, maybe you want to add 1 more from here, one more from the back. So I added 3, and then this one looks like it's going to be a good 4. And I think that's a good size for this bouquet, considering you don't want it to be too top heavy that's going to topple over. So it's no more than, I want to say, 1.5 times the size of the pot, which for something small like this, I think is fine. Also, it's a little bit wobbly, so I'm just being a little bit extra cautious. So yeah, we started with some filler flowers and just kind of putting them in random places to kind of start the basic shape. You know, like I said, I wanted to look a little bit more natural and messy, so we're gonna start with that. And then I like to go with bigger flowers or sturdier flowers first, and then delicate flowers later. So in this case, the next flower I'm gonna use are going to be the roses. The roses have a pretty sturdy stem. They can withstand a lot of stuff. They can bend them around, move them around without them breaking so easily. So just kind of pop them in on one side, right here. They can be underneath the bouquet, underneath the fillers. You can put them directly in the filler. Just kind of space them out to begin with, because you can always add more. It's okay. Like if it doesn't look full yet, that's perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. We're gonna readjust these at some point. So I just kind of space them out and put a couple on each side. And then let me show you what that looks like from my point of view too. As you can see, they're a little sparse right here, which is fine. We're gonna put some more of the fillers on this side. You know, you can always add some stuff like right here, right? And then we're gonna balance them out. It's okay, so don't get overwhelmed. Just kind of start putting them in evenly, and we'll go from there. So put some right there. And this is a big trio. Maybe we put it right here in the middle. This one we can put it right here in the middle. You know, they're a little offset. Like I said, the buds actually come out really well. Let me move this whole thing over a little bit so you guys can see a little more of it. You know, some you want to stick higher than the other ones you want to put a little bit lower. Height difference in the stems makes a cool visual effect. So it allows your eyes to kind of travel up and down and in and out of the bouquet. So this is just kind of how I want my roses to look like. And again, I'm gonna put a little bit more filler flower now that I know where my roses are sitting. For example, I can put some right here in the middle and make it look a little bit less empty right here, right? Just like that. And then the next thing I'm going to add are my slightly more delicate stems like these. Mainly because I'm choosing to do these ones first instead of this, because the size of the stems on here are much wider, and as you can see, the opening for the pot is not that big, so I don't have a whole lot of room. So I want to make sure I'm able to get some of the cooler other flowers in, and the berries actually won't take up too much space, so I can kind of pop those in later for more accent pieces. So as you can see, this is way too long now. See? So now is the time where you're probably gonna go back in and trim them. So from here, I'll probably have to find a better camera angle for this, but that's okay. And trim them about that short. And let's start putting the first one right here. Right? We're gonna trim another one, roughly about the same height. Maybe we will put that one on the other end of the pot. You know, and then this one still has more leaves, so I'm gonna cut it down a little bit. It's okay to pick off some of the flowers too. Like, you don't need them all. It's okay. You don't want them to be overcrowded. You don't want the flowers smushing up against each other. So it's okay if you thin them out a little bit. There's still going to be plenty of flowers in this. It's still going to look super cute. It's fine. I'll cut this one. Actually, I'm going to pull this one out because it's just sticking up too far. Maybe I'll move it onto the edge and put it in at an angle, so it gives me a little bit more of a V-shaped flower. I'll put this one back in here in the front. And generally, I like to use thinner stem flowers wherever I can, so I can actually put more stems in. So that's kind of what I'm doing when I'm picking between like something like this and something like this. This is a much thinner stem. It'll go in easier. I can probably put it in a more dense area of the bouquet as well. Just like that. Okay. Now I have a couple more. I might as well put a few more in there. And again, thinner stem. We like those. Let's see. This is maybe a little bit too tall, so I'm going to cut a couple inches off of that. I'm going to stick this in here right there on the side at an angle. Okay. And let's just take a quick pause and see what that looks like so far. Okay. So here you go. It's not bad, right? Not bad at all. From both sides, not bad. Oh, I almost dropped it. And from the top, this is what it looks like from the top. And this is a great place to start adding. If you look at it and see like, hey, it looks a little empty right here, or it looks a little empty right here, or maybe there's too many roses for you here and not enough right here. This is where you want to either add more stems if you have them, or feel free to pull them up and rearrange them. Like move the roses around. They're not as fragile as you think. You know, obviously you want to grab them from inside and grab the base stem, and don't pull them up from the flower, because that's how you will pop the heads of the flowers off. So just a small tip. All right, and then let's add some berries. And it really depends on what your bouquet looks like, because I don't think the dark green leaves here are going to look really good against all the light greens that are going on in here. So I'm actually just going to take off all of the big green leaves. So it's just going to look like this. Okay, and not a bad place to start. So they're a little too tall, as you can see. I want them to be pops of color and not the primary flower. So I'm actually going to trim this down a little bit more and put them in right there. And do the same thing, take the leaves off of another stem and maybe put some, you know, some of these are actually redder than the other ones. Like for example, this stem looks like it's a nice pink version, and these are a little bit more cranberry red. So I'm going to use the lighter ones instead. And that's something you can do as well, right? You can pick and choose what flowers you actually want to include in your bouquet. You don't have to use all of them. There's that. And then I feel like maybe I can do one more right here. So I'm going to cut that one really short. So measure it out. It's way too long. So I'm going to cut maybe a good 4 inches off of that guy and go in the front and just kind of tuck it in right there. Okay, so let's take a quick pause and see what that looks like. There you go. Right, it's cute. And if you want to add more, you absolutely can. If you want to add less, you absolutely can pull stuff out. Also, one of the things I like to do, you know, I might add one more of these guys right here. Just it looks a little bit bare. I don't know if you can see, like it feels like it needs something right here. Just a dead spot. So I'm gonna find one more. Okay, and I'm going to measure out. There you go. I think that looks okay, about that width. And just tuck it in there. And yeah, I like that, right? You know, I feel like I might put a little bit more filler flower here now. Just there, it's a nice bunch right here, it's a nice bunch right here. I might put a little bit more right there. Now, and like I said, you can pick which ones you want. These are closed blooms. Not a lot of them have blossomed, and these are mostly open. I think here I want to put some open ones just to make it look a little bit more full. Right? Just did what I told you guys not to do, which is don't pull up by the flowers, and I totally did and pulled out a bunch of them. So sometimes I make mistakes too. And then I'll maybe add one more in the front right here. There you go. Okay. I think that is it. Look how cute that is. Right? So carefully, I would move that off to the side. And as you can see, we have a lot of leftover flowers, which is, again, it's okay. You can make smaller bouquets with them. If you have a bigger vase, you can obviously add more to it. I just cannot. If you look at the bottom here, it's pretty full. Like, I don't think I could put too many in there without starting to damage the stems of the flowers. So for me, I would say we are done. If you like what you saw, please give me a follow, comment, anything is appreciated. I'm just doing this for fun. And if you want anything specific that you want to see or specific types of flowers, let me know.